So there are a few different genres of video games I'm a big fan of. Pinball video games, for example, big fan. As a matter of fact, I just finished playing some Pinball FX3. Had a great run playing the Getaway for a Zen Studios tournament. So love pinball games. Sports games, as you know, sports big thing with me. Even though I don't have an athletic bone in my body, video games let me hit home runs, throw touchdown passes, sink three-point shots. So big sports fan. Arcade games, the games I used to play in arcades as a youngster, I love playing those still. There's also one more genre of games that I'm really, really interested in. And today is going to be the first of 3 episodes that's going to look at some sealed versions of one of my favorite genres of all time. Those being game show games. Now, wait a minute. Don't click the away button just yet. Game shows and I have been partners for many, many years, dating back to when I was in elementary school. Days that I would be homesick from school, my mom would put me up on the couch and I'd have some macaroni and cheese or some soup or something, and there would be game shows on. And back then, back in the 70s and 80s, game shows used to be on in the morning from between, say, like 9:30 up until noontime. So Price is Right is still on, but you used to get other game shows too, and I used to watch all of those. And then in the afternoon, there used to be more game shows like The Joker's Wild, which is another favorite of mine. Password is another favorite. Card Sharks, and the list goes on. So as I got older and I started to get my own video game systems, getting game show conversions or game show video games was something that really interested me. And now I have, for this first episode in this 3-part series, a trio of 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s game show games for the PlayStation that I want to open up for you. These are games that were popular. One of them is still kind of popular today, but really had their popularity in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I want to start with this one because it's just one game rather than 2. Yes, this is The Weakest Link. I do believe, yes, that is Ann Robinson. I had to look at her name just to be sure. The Weakest Link was a fun trivia show with a host that just hated you. If you were dumb, if you made wrong answers, she let you know it. And I loved that snarkability in her. I loved her presence. I loved the way she would rip people up. It was a pretty interesting show where you would be on a team of people and it would be rapid fire trivia questions from one to the next to the next. And you would go up this chain of potential values all the way up to a certain high dollar amount. Now you have to get all the questions right. If you get a question wrong, you go all the way back to the first ring in the chain, which is like $1,000 or something like that. So there's some strategy involved. You could bank if you wanted and get, say, $16,000 or $32,000 or whatever it was, or you could try and risk it, trust your teammates to be smart, and go for the big money. Very seldom did you see people get big money on this show. There were some people that did well, but more often than not, it was low to medium numbers because you took home whatever people banked for the most part. So this is the video game adaptation. Yes, that is Ann Robinson right there. And the package actually asks you, are you the weakest link? And that was Ann Robinson's catchphrase. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. And she would just kind of get ready to tell you to go off stage. There would be the walk of shame as you had to walk off stage in front of your teammates. By the way, the way that you would get thrown out is your teammates would vote you off, whether they thought you were doing too well and you were going to steal their money, or they thought you were dumb and you weren't answering any questions. You needed to go away. So it's a pretty interesting social dynamic. So test your brain power as you take center stage in the home version of the hit game show. Think fast on your feet to answer Ann Robinson's tough trivia questions correctly, or you're toast. Know your foe's weaknesses and play your voting strategy right, because there's only one word for losers in this arena: goodbye. Compete as one of 24 different characters, answering over 100,000 questions, moderated by Ann Robinson herself. Challenge up to 6 friends in multiplayer mental showdowns, or face cutthroat computer-generated players. That's usually what I do. Take the heat as you progress to bigger prize levels and tougher questions, using strategy to be the last person standing. So that's this game. It is rated E for everybody. There's nothing really violent in the game, although Anne does have a rather mean sensibility about her. This is brand new. You can see the label right up there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to open this and take a look at it. Now, this game is from, I believe, 2000. Yeah, so this game is a little bit late in the PlayStation's lifespan. This was just at the tail end of the PlayStation leading into the PlayStation 2, so I don't expect there to be much interesting in the manual. Something that you will notice, I'm just going to open this up real quick. Someday this stuffy nose will go away and I will sound less congested, I promise. There we go. So one thing you'll notice really quick is in the lower right-hand corner, that is the Activision logo. Activision did publish this here in the States. Traveler's Tales, by the way. Traveler's Tales, the company behind the Lego games, they brought this version of the game home. That's a pretty interesting piece of trivia knowledge. Next time you're playing Lego Batman or Lego The Avengers or Lego Supervillains, you can remember that it was the Traveler's Tales team that put the home version of The Weakest Link together. Let's go ahead and open this up. When we do, let's make sure the disc doesn't fall out. The disc is not overly complex in terms of disc art, but I like the blue. It's very cool. We'll take a look at the instruction manual really quickly, as we do have other games we want to get to. The instruction manual is in black and white. There are some screenshots here and there, and it does explain the process of playing the game, as well as setting the different options for yourself. There is, in the middle of the manual, there is a warranty card if you want to send that back to Activision. There it is right there. Let's see if there's anything interesting here, because every time I miss these, I always miss something interesting. The weakest link for the PlayStation game console. Please take a few moments to tell us about yourself. Return this card completely filled out so we can enter you in our monthly drawing for a free autographed Tony Hawk Professional Skateboard. That's pretty cool. Email address, name, street. Okay, nothing interesting there. Preferred games, check all that apply. Action, adventure, role-playing, sports, driving, racing, and fighting. I play all of those. Which game systems are in your home? PlayStation, PlayStation 2. So this is past or right around the PlayStation 2 launch. Game Boy Color, awesome console, or awesome system. Game Boy Advance, Sega Dreamcast, and Nintendo 64. And I do have all of those. That's kind of cool. It asks you how many games you own for each. Oh boy, I don't have enough room to write that down. And where did you hear about the weakest link for the PlayStation? I actually saw it in a store. That's when I decided to pick it up. So that is the weakest link. It didn't last all that long. It was kind of a flash in the pan here in the U.S. It might have lasted longer over in the U.K., which is where I believe the series originated. But here, it came and went relatively quickly. So there's one other series from the late 90s and early 2000s that was pretty popular, and this one is still kind of popular today, even though the format's shifted just a little bit. And you're going to recognize it as soon as you see the guy on the front cover. Here we go. Yes, it's Regis Philbin in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right there. There is a second and a third edition. I was not able to find a first edition for the PlayStation. I don't know if there was one. I think the first edition was just for PC. But these are two Who Wants to Be a Millionaire games with different questions on each. So we're going to go ahead and open these one at a time. And as you can see, Regis is surrounded by fake money. And here is the back of the case. You can check it out. Again, Regis throwing money around like it grows on trees. Enjoy the hottest game show on PlayStation. Well, there you go. All you have to do is answer 15 questions. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, yeah. Well, it starts out easy but gets tougher. Every correct answer raises the stakes and the sweat factor. Every wrong answer makes you want to crawl into your cubby hole. Okay. Pressure's on. Can you handle it? There are 600 mind-bending questions. That's it. There's just 600. So you're not going to get a lot of repeats because it's 15 questions per, but after you play this a few times, you will run into that repeat problem. Are you ready to prove just how smart you are? Regis Philbin is featured as host, complete with his wit and attitude. You're in the hot seat now. Are you up to it? There's a security label right there. So if you tried to take this out of the store before it was demagnetized, the alarm system would go off. There's also a win $1 million sweepstakes, which I think is long since passed, but we'll try and check it out. In fact, let's see if we can kind of get that. I don't think I can. So let's go ahead and just open this up. Hopefully we won't run into the same problems that we ran into last time when I was opening PlayStation stuff, where I had to talk to you guys for a little bit because I just couldn't get the darn thing open. And every time I tell you guys, I need to have a pair of scissors because Sometimes these are a pain to open. And do I ever come armed with a pair of scissors? No. I don't have any excuse for that. So the interesting thing about Millionaire, while I'm trying to get this open, there we go. So go ahead and just rip that right off the front there. And we'll do this. Oh, there we go. So the interesting thing about Millionaire is it was just really an event. First, it lasted for like one night, and then it would last for 3 nights, and then there was a week straight. So it was more of an event than a game show, and it was pretty exciting because there was an opportunity to win $1 million straight up. One of my favorite moments from this game was when a fella went through all of the questions without using a lifeline until the very end. He called home to his dad. Everyone thought that he was calling home for help. But the reason he was really calling was just to tell his dad that he won the $1 million and then gave the right answer. It was which former American president was on laughing, and the answer was Richard Nixon, I believe. So here is the win $1 million sweepstakes option. We'll go ahead and just look at that really quick before we move on. Oh, yeah. So there's your code right there. I'm sure this doesn't work anymore. What do you have to do? You have to visit PlayStation.com and go to the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire 2nd edition game page. Enter the game number and see if you've matched the winning number to win. I'm sure that was not me. So, as we take a look here on the inside, I don't think there's going to be much that's going to be unique about this. We do get a PlayStation Underground membership opportunity, just like that. So you can fill out that card if you want in. Again, PlayStation Underground is one of the coolest things, I think, about the PlayStation era, and I've talked about that before. And in the manual is color, believe it or not. There we go. Take a look at the manual. Now you're in the hot seat. Are you the one who always knows the answer to that obscure question? Do you really think you know it all? Now you can get your shot at the hot seat, a little fame, and a big chunk of money. Virtual dollars. They have to remind you you're not playing for real money here. It's time to show the world just how smart you really are. And playing this game is very, very simple. You really don't need the manual to do it. But instead of A, B, C, or D, you have the 4 face buttons on your controller with which to make a selection. So that's the way that you play it. I enjoy playing this. It is harder than you think it might be until you've played it quite a bit. And I do admit every now and again, because I want to win the $1 million, sometimes I do cheat a little bit and I'll have my cell phone out just because I want to win that money. I don't really have an excuse to wanting to win that money because, again, it's virtual dollars, but whatever. And here, the last one that will open up on this episode is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire 3rd edition. And again, Regis is bathing in money here. The hottest TV game show is back for an all-new season on PlayStation. Answer 15 questions correctly, and we can walk away a winner. 2-player fastest finger round, ready to flex those intellectual muscles. That's how they determine who's going to play, by the way. They had a pool of contestants, and they would play this fastest finger contest where you had to select or sequentialize 4 answers, and whoever got it right in the fastest amount of time would play for the money. All 3 lifelines, of course, 700 all-new mind-bending questions. So between this game and the 2nd edition, you have 1,300 questions to get through, which certainly gives you a lot of gameplay. This looks like it was a promo copy because we have the hole in the UPC symbol. Let's go ahead and open this up real quick. I know this episode is another one that's running long. I've just had a lot to show lately. There we go. Let's open this up. Making a mess here in my office. There we go. Take that off there. And again, there is the seal. We'll take the seal off. Millionaire is still on TV today, although Regis doesn't do any hosting. I always thought that he was the best host myself. I just thought that his dramatics were perfect for the show. And I actually used to dress like him. Used to have that monochromatic black shirt, black tie, black pants. I used to idolize that for a time during like 1999 and 2000. So when we open this up, again, just like the last, there's the disc, by the way. The disc is this really cool royal purple. And again, we have the PlayStation Underground card if you want to get in. And just like the last one, we do have a color manual, once again, that explains the ins and outs of how to play. Again, it's really basic. It's really easy to learn how to play. The controls aren't going to trip you up. It's more going to be, will the questions trip you up and how smart you are. And there are leaderboards, by the way. It's worth mentioning, and it's the same for second edition as well. You can save your progress to memory card, and you can see who the smartest person is among you or your friends or your family or however it is that you want to play it. So, Weakest Link and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire are very memorable game shows, at least for me, from the late 90s and early 2000s. In the next episode, we're going to go back a little bit, but still remain very modern as we look at two of the most popular and longest running game shows on television and their PlayStation versions. We're going to do that next time around as we lead up to what is going to be one of my most anticipated Unsealed openings, and we're going to be doing that in just a couple of episodes. In the meantime, if you played any game show video games, I'd love to hear about your experience with them. Do you like them at all? Do you think that they're a waste of time? I'd love to hear from you on those and what you think of Unsealed so far. We're more than 65 episodes in 2018 alone. It has been a great year, and as we wrap up this year with the next 2 episodes, get ready for plenty more in 2019. As always, thanks for watching the show. I really do appreciate it, and until the next time, my friends, see you later.